to Inside Politics Sunday. I'm Abby Phillip. And after weeks of setbacks for his domestic agenda, President Joe Biden has a barrier-breaking opportunity to put the first black woman on the Supreme Court.
Person I will nominate will be someone with extraordinary qualifications, character, experience, and integrity. And that person will be the first black woman ever nominated to the United States Supreme Court. I will nominate a historic candidate, someone who's worthy of Justice Breyer's legacy.
With their razor-thin margin in the Senate, Democrats are pushing for a swift confirmation, and they're citing the 27 Senate days that Senate Republicans took to confirm Justice Amy Coney Barrett in 2020. Whomever he picks, though, Biden will have twice played a key role in filling this seat nearly 28 years ago. You see it there. Then Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Biden led Justice Breyer's confirmation hearing. And joining me now with their reporting and their insights, Hans Nichols of Axios, CNN's Manu Raju, Jackie Kucinich of the Daily Beast, and CNN's Jasmine Wright. Welcome to the Inside Politics table. Thanks for being here this morning. So, look, Hans, President Biden made this promise. It's a big one. Nominate the first black woman onto the court. I want to put up, this is not the short list, this is the long list. The long list.
That could be the more accurate list.
It may very well be. This is the long list of a slew of more than a dozen black women who are potentially under consideration. And Biden wants to be deliberative about this. This is the guy of the Senate. What is his process?
The process will be deliberative. There'll be a lot of people giving input, and there'll be official people like White House counsel, Dina Remus, but also be his outside cabinet. Right? Joe Biden picks up the phone. He'll talk to people. He'll talk to senators. He'll talk to people that Manu talks to. You know, yes, it's a big list, right? But don't we kind of all, doesn't it kind of feel, and I hate to say feel, right? And I'm not going to say that we have firm reporting on this, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be Ketanji Brown Jackson. And doesn't it seem like the Fed, and I hate to make this about the Fed, because obviously it's not about the Fed, but doesn't it just seem like the Fed, where everyone had this big back and forth, but it was always going to be Jerome Powell. Smart Democrats that I talk to are like, she's really the only option. I don't have it.
You say that, but this is an important point.
Okay.
All right. She has a lot of things going for her, checks a lot of boxes for the White House, got bipartisan support. She was recently confirmed, so a lot of the legwork has been done. But take a look at some of the other people on a little bit of a shorter list. And some of those individuals also were recently confirmed. Some have gotten Republican support from people like Lindsey Graham, Collins, McConnell. Even in 2021, Tiffany Cunningham on the end of this list, she got support from a slew of Republicans. So is this maybe a little bit more open than we think?
We don't know. I mean, the bottom line is Hans is right. I think Ketanji Brown Jackson seems to be the front runner here, but there's only one person who's going to make the decision. Biden's probably not going to tip his hand to members of Congress. He'll try to make them seem like they are in part of this process. One of those people, also Michelle Childs, she was not on that list. She was confirmed to a district court judgeship back in 2010. She's been nominated to sit on the D.C. Court of Appeals. They've delayed that hearing for next week, for this coming Tuesday, because the fact that she's on the short list and they don't want her to be subjected to senators' questions and that. Now, she could potentially also get bipartisan support. South Carolina Senators Lindsey Graham, also Tim Scott, have not ruled out, have suggested openness to her nomination. She's been pushed by Jim Clyburn, the Democrat. But we'll see how this ultimately plays out. But yeah, Democrats want to move quickly, but Chuck Schumer will only be allowed to move as quickly as support will allow him in the Senate. If one Democratic senator, say Joe Manchin, says we need to put the brakes on this, they'll have to slow down. And Manchin, I'm told, is okay with that timeline, about a month timeline to get this done. But we'll see. Once the process plays out and who it is, if they need more vetting, perhaps they have to hit the brakes.
On the front end of this, though, Joe Biden himself has already indicated that he's going to slow down the process. He wants to take about a month to even select a person, and Democrats are saying, Stephanie Cutter, former Obama administration official who was dealing with nominations in the Obama years, says, why are you doing that? We should be moving as quickly as possible. This 50-50 split in the Senate for the Democrats is so tenuous.
Well, right, and they're looking at some of their members, and mortality is a thing, and but they're also looking at what Republicans did. Just, a few years ago with Amy Coney Barrett, like this, or a year ago, my gosh, everything seems so much. But they're looking at that and saying, well, look, now there's precedent. Now there's precedent to go a bit faster. And in terms of Biden slowing down the process, I think you guys are right. When was the last time Biden surprised us? Where you were like, oh, that was left field.
Or that was fast,
or
right?
that was
He said he was going to make it December.
Right.
I mean, December means January, January means February,
So,
right?
yeah, right. So with the nominee, he could slow this down. But I think once this gets in Chuck Schumer's hands, there is a lot of pressure, not only from outside, but internally, just to get this through and take the W, because they need it.
Yeah, and I think that once it gets into Chuck Schumer's hands, that's a whole different ballgame, right? And it's going to be about the White House wanting to defend the nominee who we know have already kind of gotten attacks based on race, based on qualifications, not because we know who the nominee is, but because Biden has pledged to really nominate a black woman. And so we're starting to see kind of this coalescing around the supposed unknown nominee from black women, from those outside Democratic advisors that had a lot of influence on the White House, saying that we are here to rally, and we are really here to put up fences around this probable nominee in case of this kind of Republican pushback and some of that already kind of racist language that we're starting to hear right now.
To that point, this is what Republican Senator Roger Wicker had to say about Biden's pledge.
The irony is that the Supreme Court is at the very same time hearing cases about this sort of affirmative racial discrimination,
Yes.
and while adding someone who is the beneficiary of this sort of quote.
So a couple of things on this. He represents the blackest state in the union, Mississippi. But on top of that, I don't recall hearing anything about Ronald Reagan campaigning on nominating the first woman to the Supreme Court. I don't remember hearing anything about Clarence Thomas, who replaced the first black justice on the court. I don't remember hearing anything about President Trump saying it's going to be a woman and then picking Amy Coney Barrett. So Republicans are trying to, well, I mean, we shouldn't be surprised by this, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, they're going to have to settle on what their message is. And in talking to Republicans last week, it was clear that that message, they haven't quite formulated that yet. What we do know is that the Supreme Court confirmation process has become so viciously and intensely partisan. No matter how qualified someone is, it's going to come down almost along party lines these days. That is the way that it has become, which is why that it is almost certain that if they're going to get someone confirmed, they're probably only going to pick up a handful of votes, no matter how qualified any of those nominees were on the list. And there were most of those were extremely qualified. Probably all of those are extremely qualified to get the job. So they have to figure out exactly how they're going to approach this historic pick. And when I was asking senators about this last week, they were not moved by the fact that this will be a groundbreaking pick. Instead, they're painting this as a left-wing extremist, no matter who it is.
But when you veer into like outright racism, let's be honest. I mean, isn't there a risk this could backfire?
I mean, I think that you already see kind of the mechanisms in place trying to create that pushback momentum, pushback machine. Yesterday, I talked to a White House official after those comments from Wicker surfaced, and they pointed out exactly what you said, Abby, that the president's pick decision to nominate a black woman, his pledge fits in line with bipartisan former president's line with Ronald Reagan, with Amy Coney Barrett's selection. They mentioned Wicker's comments during that confirmation process of Amy Coney Barrett, where he said that my granddaughters, I hope that Amy's confirmation will be an inspiration to them, right? So they are using Republicans' own words when it comes to the picks and confirmation processes that they've already put. But yeah, I think it's going to backfire because, again, it flies into the face of the Republican requests or trying to expand the base of who they want to call Republican and trying to expand that into black and brown voters.
And let's be honest, in terms of extremism or picking from some sort of prescribed list, again, President Trump picked a Supreme Court nominee from a list that was vetted by the Federalist Society. So that is not exactly something new in politics. But coming up next,